Let me ask you something. Have you ever worked hard, done everything you were told to do, saved a little money here and there, and still felt like financial success was always just out of reach? Maybe you've wondered why some people seem to move smoothly through financial challenges, while others constantly feel stuck. Is it luck? Is it education? Or is it something deeper? Something most people never learn? Believe it or not, one of the most powerful lessons about money didn't come from a banker, a businessman, or a Wall Street investor. It came from a martial artist, from the philosophy of Bruce Lee. You probably know Bruce Lee as a legendary fighter, the speed, the discipline, the iconic movies. But what many people don't realize is that Bruce Lee was also a deep thinker, a philosopher, a student of life, and one of his most famous teachings might just change the way you think about money forever. His simple advice was this: be water, my friend. Now at first, that might sound a little strange. Water? What does water have to do with wealth, financial success, or building a better future? But if you take a moment and really think about it, the lesson is powerful. Water adapts. Water flows. Water doesn't panic when it hits an obstacle. It simply changes direction and keeps moving. And the truth is, the people who succeed financially often think exactly the same way. They adapt to change. They adjust when life throws challenges their way. They don't freeze when things go wrong. Instead, they flow forward. Now think about the world we live in today. The economy changes. Industries evolve. Jobs disappear. New opportunities appear where no one expected them. If someone approaches money with a rigid mindset, this is the only way things should work, they often get stuck. But the people who learn to think like water, they move with change instead of fighting it. And that mindset, more than almost anything else, can determine your financial future. So today, we're going to explore something fascinating. We're going to look at Bruce Lee's philosophy and how this simple idea of being like water can completely transform the way you approach money, opportunity, and success. But before we go deeper, let me ask you something. Have you ever had a moment in your life where a financial setback actually led to something better later on? Maybe a lost job that pushed you toward a new opportunity. Maybe a challenge that forced you to learn a skill you never expected to need. If that's happened to you, I'd love to hear about it. Go ahead and share your experience down in the comments. Your story might inspire someone else watching this video. And if you enjoy thoughtful conversations about success, mindset, and building a stronger financial future, make sure you subscribe and join our community. Because in the next few minutes, you may start to see money and life itself in a completely different way. Now let's begin with a real question. What exactly did Bruce Lee mean when he said, be water? The meaning of be water. To understand how Bruce Lee's philosophy connects to money, we first need to understand what he truly meant by his famous words, be water, my friend. When Bruce Lee said this, he wasn't talking about martial arts techniques alone. He was talking about life itself. Bruce Lee believed that the greatest strength a person could develop wasn't physical power, it was adaptability. Think about water for a moment. If you pour water into a glass, it becomes the glass. If you pour it into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. Water doesn't argue with the shape of the container. It simply adjusts. It flows. And yet, despite being soft and flexible, water is incredibly powerful. Over time, water can carve valleys through mountains. It can shape stone. It can cross entire continents. Now imagine applying that same idea to your financial life. Most people approach money like a rigid object. They build one plan, one expectation, one path. I'll work this job for 30 years. I'll retire at this age. This industry will always be stable. But life rarely follows a straight line. Industries change. Technology transforms the workplace. Unexpected opportunities appear. And sometimes doors close. People who think rigidly often panic when those changes happen. But people who think like water, they adapt. They ask themselves a different question. Where can I flow next? Let me give you a simple example many people can relate to. Imagine someone who spent decades working in one field. Suddenly, the industry begins shrinking. A rigid mindset might say, this is unfair. This shouldn't be happening. But a water mindset says, what skills do I have that can flow into another opportunity? Maybe they start consulting. Maybe they teach their knowledge. Maybe they start a small business. The situation hasn't changed, but the approach has. And that shift in thinking can make all the difference. Bruce Lee himself lived this philosophy. Early in his career, many traditional martial arts schools rejected his ideas. They believed fighting styles should remain rigid and unchanged. But Bruce Lee believed something different. He believed true mastery came from adaptation. Instead of sticking to one rigid system, he created his own philosophy called Jeet Kune Do, a martial arts approach built around flexibility, efficiency, and constant learning. In other words, Bruce Lee became water, and that same idea applies to building wealth. Financial success rarely comes from following one fixed path forever. Instead, it often comes from learning new skills, recognizing new opportunities, and being willing to change direction when the moment calls for it. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had to adapt financially? Maybe you changed careers. Maybe you learned new skills later in life. Maybe you discovered an opportunity you never expected. If that's happened to you, share it in the comments. Someone watching right now might be going through the same transition. And if you're enjoying this conversation so far, take a moment to subscribe. On this channel, we explore powerful ideas that can help you build not just wealth, but wisdom. Because in the next section, we're going to talk about something that quietly holds many people back from financial success. A hidden problem that Bruce Lee warned about long ago, rigid thinking. And it may be one of the biggest obstacles standing between you and financial freedom. Flowing around financial obstacles. At some point in life, everyone runs into financial obstacles. A job disappears. An unexpected expense appears. The economy shifts. A plan that once felt secure suddenly looks uncertain. And in those moments, many people feel stuck. They push harder against the problem. They worry. They replay the situation over and over in their minds. But this is exactly where the philosophy of Bruce Lee becomes so powerful. Because Bruce Lee believed something very simple. When you meet an obstacle, don't crash into it. Flow around it. Think about water again. When water reaches a rock in a river, it doesn't stop and argue with the rock. It doesn't panic. It simply changes direction and keeps moving. Eventually, it finds another path forward. Now imagine applying that same idea to financial challenges. Let's say someone loses a job they've held for years. A rigid mindset might respond with fear. What am I going to do now? This shouldn't have happened. My best years are behind me. But a water mindset looks at the situation differently. Instead of focusing only on the loss, it begins looking for movement. What skills do I have? Where else could those skills be useful? What opportunity might this change be opening? Sometimes that shift in thinking leads to surprising outcomes. A person who once worked for a company might discover they can consult. Someone who spent decades mastering a skill might begin teaching it. Another person might finally pursue an idea they postponed for years. The obstacle hasn't disappeared, but the path forward has changed. And often, that new path leads somewhere even better. History is full of examples like this. Many successful businesses started during difficult economic times. Many great careers began after unexpected setbacks. Not because those moments were easy, but because someone chose to flow instead of freeze. Bruce Lee trained his mind to respond the same way in combat. If an opponent blocked one move, he didn't keep attacking the same way over and over. He adjusted. He adapted. He found another opening. In other words, he stayed fluid. And that same mental flexibility can help us navigate financial life. Because the truth is, the world is constantly changing. Markets evolve. Technology advances. Entire industries transform in just a few years. The people who thrive are rarely the ones who resist those changes. They're the ones who learn to move with them. So let me ask you something. Think back to a challenge you faced in the past. Maybe a financial setback, a job change, or a difficult period. At the time, it may have felt like a wall. But looking back now, did that obstacle eventually lead you somewhere new? If you're comfortable sharing, tell us about it in the comments. Your story could remind someone watching this video that obstacles are not always the end of the road. And if you're enjoying these ideas so far, don't forget to subscribe. We explore powerful lessons like this that can help you build resilience, wisdom, and long-term success. Because in the next section, we're going to explore something Bruce Lee believed was even more important than technique or strategy: self-mastery. Because before a person can truly master money, they must first learn to master themselves. Self-mastery before wealth. Before a person can truly build lasting wealth, there is one challenge that often appears first. And it's not the market. It's not the economy. It's not even opportunity. It's ourselves. One of the most powerful ideas taught by Bruce Lee was the importance of self-mastery. Bruce Lee believed the greatest opponent a person ever faces is not another fighter, but their own mind, their fears, their impulses, their emotions. And when you think about it, money works the same way. Many financial mistakes are not caused by lack of knowledge. They're caused by emotions. Fear makes people avoid opportunities. Greed pushes people into risky decisions. Impulse leads to spending money that was meant for the future. Sound familiar? Almost everyone has experienced this at some point. Maybe you've seen the stock market fall and felt the urge to panic. Maybe you've made a purchase in the heat of the moment, only to regret it later. Or maybe you've hesitated to invest in yourself because fear whispered, "What if it doesn't work?" Bruce Lee trained himself to stay calm under pressure. In martial arts, emotional reactions can make a fighter predictable and vulnerable, but a calm mind stays sharp, focused, aware. The same principle applies to financial life. A calm, disciplined mindset helps people make better decisions. Instead of reacting emotionally, they pause. They observe. They think long-term. For example, when markets fluctuate, disciplined investors often stay patient instead of panicking. When income increases, self-controlled individuals avoid the temptation to dramatically increase their spending. And when opportunities appear, confident people evaluate them thoughtfully instead of rushing blindly. In other words, they practice financial self-control. Bruce Lee believed mastery came from understanding yourself, your habits, your reactions, your weaknesses. Because once you understand those things, you can begin to improve them. You can replace impulsive choices with thoughtful ones. You can replace fear with preparation. You can replace short-term thinking with long-term vision. And over time, those small improvements compound, just like money does. That's why many financially successful people emphasize something that rarely makes headlines: discipline. Not excitement, not shortcuts. Discipline. Saving when it's easier to spend. Investing when patience feels difficult. Learning when others stop growing. Those quiet habits build strength over time, just like the daily training Bruce Lee practiced throughout his life. So here's a question worth reflecting on. What do you think is the biggest emotional challenge people face with money? Is it fear? Is it impatience? Is it spending habits? Or something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments. It's always interesting to hear the different perspectives people bring from their own experiences. And if you enjoy exploring ideas that combine wisdom, discipline, and financial growth, make sure you subscribe and stay connected with this channel. Because in the final section, we're going to bring everything together. And we'll talk about how you can begin applying Bruce Lee's philosophy today by learning to become water in your own financial life. Becoming water in your financial life. So after everything we've discussed, the question becomes very simple. How do you actually apply this philosophy to your own life? How do you take the wisdom of Bruce Lee and turn it into something practical for your financial journey? It starts with remembering one powerful image. Water. Water never stops moving. It doesn't panic when it meets resistance. It adjusts, it flows, and it keeps going. And the truth is, building wealth often works exactly the same way. Life will change. Your plans will evolve. Opportunities will appear where you didn't expect them. And sometimes, challenges will show up when you least want them to. But people who develop a water mindset approach those moments differently. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "Where can I flow next?" That small shift in thinking can open doors you never noticed before. Let's bring together the key lessons from Bruce Lee's philosophy. First, stay adaptable. The world is constantly changing. Industries grow and shrink. New technologies appear. The people who succeed are rarely the ones who resist change. They're the ones who learn how to move with it. Second, avoid rigid thinking. There is rarely only one path to success. Be willing to learn new skills, explore new opportunities, and rethink old assumptions. Third, focus on simple, consistent habits. You don't need complicated financial strategies to make progress. Saving regularly, investing patiently, and improving your skills year after year can create remarkable results over time. Fourth, practice self-mastery. Control your impulses. Stay calm when others panic. Make thoughtful decisions instead of emotional ones. These habits may sound simple, but when practiced consistently, they create powerful momentum, just like water slowly shaping a landscape. Now here's something important to remember. Bruce Lee didn't just talk about philosophy. He lived it. He trained every day. He studied constantly. He challenged old ideas and built his own path forward. And because of that mindset, he left behind lessons that still inspire millions of people today. Lessons about strength, about discipline, about becoming the best version of yourself. So as you move forward in your own financial journey, keep this image in mind. When obstacles appear, when plans change, when the future feels uncertain, remember Bruce Lee's simple advice. Be water, my friend. Adapt. Keep learning. Keep moving forward. And over time, those small movements can carry you further than you ever imagined. Before we finish, I'd love to hear from you. What part of Bruce Lee's philosophy resonated with you the most? Was it the idea of adaptability, the power of simple habits, or the importance of self-mastery? Share your thoughts down in the comments. Your insight might inspire someone else watching this video. And if you enjoyed this discussion and want more ideas about mindset, success, and financial wisdom, make sure you subscribe and join us on this journey. Because sometimes the most powerful lessons in life come from the simplest ideas, and few ideas are more powerful than this one. Be water.